Pardon me, gentlemen. Alright, so that right there is a group of homeless folks. They got their gear stashed wherever they can put it, where they hope it won't get stolen by another fucking tweaker or meth head. There's 8 people over there. I would be the 9th. 4 of those dudes are meth heads. 3 of them are on heroin. That's 7 out of 9 that are not sober. Now, there's not a great ratio like that everywhere, but it is a great ratio of people who are in public who you see. You got 7 guys over there all acting fucking twacked out their damn gourd, or snoozing off and nodding off and talking gibberish because they're fucked up. I just found something on the ground. What is this? Let's see. Smells like a peanut butter cookie. It's got some feminine products in there and a razor. It's going in the trash. Now, the thing with those homeless groups like that is that they give us all a bad name. Kind of like the young woman who stole my phone. Those guys be out here every day. Most of the time they're holding a sign. There's 4 or 5 sober people here who also hold a sign. 2 of them are former veterans, or are veterans, were formerly in the military. And one of them is a single mother who does not have her kids. You really don't have to stick around long to find out who's doing what. And, well, just like anywhere, methamphetamine's done overrun the place. We could do something about this. I gotta get back over there, though, because the most unintelligent thing that I have done, bar none, is just now when I walked away from all of my stuff with, well, 4 meth heads and 3 people on heroin. They could all be stealing my things right now. And ain't none of them gonna crack on the other ones without a crack on the head. So, if I want to retrieve my stolen goods back, should they choose to steal my things, I'm gonna have to beat them all piss limber, and when they're on meth, well, they're not as easy to beat up as the ones who are on heroin. They got this super stupid strength where they can take quite a bit of punishment because they're not feeling any of it. And I am now noticing that none of them are over there. We'll see how decent my stuff fared. Bonjour. Lucky me, I left and all my stuff is still here. And that's kind of the situation here. It's kind of the situation in Boulder too. It cost all of my gas money that I got from Kinga to get this woman her phone hooked up. Came out to $83 or something, plus I got her something to eat. I had like 16 bucks left after getting the phone, so well, you can't get much with 16 bucks. On the bright side, I got my phone full of evidence back. I mean, sure, it shows me being an asshole, but if these people want to take me to court, my phone shows why I was an asshole. And believe me, it's more than justified. Or rather, don't believe me. Take a look at the evidence for yourself. People keep walking up to me asking me for meth. They also ask for women, which might confuse some of you, but these women specifically signify certain drugs, like Lucy and Molly. If you don't know what those are, you should look them up. If your kids talk about Lucy and Molly an awful lot, or how they're going to go hang out with Lucy and Molly, make sure they know a Lucy and Molly first, before you allow them to do such a thing. The woman that I helped out, I dropped her off at the bus station and I started driving the direction I was going. Turns out the buses weren't running, so she needed a ride to somewhere else. And we ended up right back here at the Starbucks where she stole my things. Imagine that. Her and her dog are in my vehicle taking a nap. Well, that guy's got a little dick. Fuck bikers. If you got such a little dick that you have to be a ginormous prick, don't get a bike. So I got 2 phones hooked up now. The $50 card that I had for my phone so that I could continue its service next month, I ended up using on a different phone. So there's $50 down the tubes because I don't need both phones active. The $83 that I got from Kinga to get this young woman well, it was for me to get gas is what it was for. But it ended up getting spent on getting this young woman a phone. See, that's where Natalie went wrong. That's where Alicia went wrong. That's where all these people went wrong. I'm a very kind and forgiving person when you're willing to admit that you did wrong. But when you say stop blaming me, well, that goes to show that you're not willing to admit that you did wrong. For me, I was blamed for things I didn't do. So I'm going to fight for my right to an honest day in court. Fight tooth and nail for the evidence that I have left, because it's important. Doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do is not a fucking rocket science. When I told this young woman that I was going to come see her and get her a phone in exchange for my phone full of evidence, even though it's a cheap, broken, cracked piece of shit. Cheapest model they had at Walmart. It's because that evidence shows that I'm telling the truth. And this young woman was afraid that I was gonna do the same thing that Natalie did. That I was gonna tell her that I would show up and then have the cops show up instead. I have zero fucking respect for the cops. I was able to get the woman who stole my shit to give it back. And had I done the things that they wanted me to do, the things I was trying to do, I wouldn't have been able to communicate with the woman to get my things back. The cops didn't give a fuck. They could have picked her up 2 days ago when she first stole my phone, but given her situation, I'm glad she ran into me instead of someone else. Because someone else would have called the cops. Or brought their big fat dyker girlfriend to come beat her ass. You don't like the way I said that? Big old fat dyker? What's a dyker exactly? Well, that's a biker bitch. Who just happens to be a man-hating lesbian. When I say dyke, I'm specifically referring to man-haters. people who blame all men because they have a bad choice in men or aren't interested in men, or they want to blame men for all of the bad things that happen in the world. I'm going to tell you something here. Women are just as superficial as men. You don't believe me? Go through your ladies' friends list. See how many of the females got pictures of Jason Momoa up. Or half-naked firemen. Tell me women aren't superficial. There's a woman named Victoria who's friends with me on Facebook. She's always typing about how horny she is. And then when dudes hit on her, she is like, well, I want to cut your stomach open and pull your intestines out and tie them in a knot. Yes, Victoria seriously typed this. She complains that she can't keep a man, that all these dudes are fucking psycho, and I'm like, oh, pot calling the kettle black here. The world changes when we make it change. With each kind deed that we perform, each person that we stick with when it's rough, each person that we forgive and show another way. That's how you make the world a better place. Natalie knew this. Natalie and I were friends. But they wanted to go out of their way to misunderstand things that they had simple explanations. Every one of them. I mean, the whole situation in Virginia would have been as simple as them going, oh, you were severely dehydrated, just like you said you were. The phone is all fucked up, just like you were trying to explain it to us. Well, yeah, Sean, that explains it, actually. But no, they didn't want to hear that part. They didn't want to find out that part. They just wanted to judge and punish. The problem is that the bullshit that Alicia in specific assumed, and yes, it was Alicia who started the whole assumption that I want to get more out of Natalie than just being friends. That was all Alicia. Natalie did want to be more than friends with me. Natalie did. And I knew that. She'd said it more than once. She used to tell me, Sean, I used to think I was in love with you. And I'd think to myself, well, I'm glad you're over that. But she changed her mind on that a few times. Sometimes she's like, I did get over it. And sometimes she's like, you know, I never got over it. Alicia asked me if I would ever date Natalie. I told her I wasn't there to date Natalie. I told her I don't date girls that are fucked up or on drugs. If you're not good enough for me when you're sober or when you're drunk, if you're not good enough for me when you're sober, if I'm not good enough for you when you're sober, you can't have me when you're drunk. God, that was a pain in the ass to say, wasn't it? And Alicia, she said, you know, Sean, you just need to be loved. And she was absolutely right. But the way that her and Natalie loved me was completely wrong. The things that they did over their opinions and their choices is completely wrong. I didn't choose for Natalie and Alicia to do drugs or to live the party life. I didn't choose for them to date abusive men, or for their mother to date abusive men, or for their stepmothers to marry an abusive man. I didn't make those decisions, but I had repercussions for the decisions that those people made. Those decisions in specific. And also Natalie's mother's decision to turn a blind eye. All of these people who pretended to be victims, from Natalie to Alicia to Jennifer Freena Bollinger, Danica Garner, Shelley Campbell. I tried to help all of these people. Help, not hurt. but they were working together with the police. There is no possible way that all of those police officers and all of the shit that the Bollingers fucking pulled and their extended family pulled, there's no way they weren't working together to do that. I'm sure there's plenty of calls between all of those different jurisdictions that I was in. And if somebody just bothered to fucking take a look at the evidence, they'd realize there's a lot of evidence that I don't have that there is access to. That phone call between me and the 911 dispatch in Haxton, Colorado last year while I was at Candace's. There's a couple at Tacoma's finest. So that's the thing. The cops don't do anything useful, but you know who does? Good people. Good people who don't get paid for it. Anyway, it's time for me to shut down my computer. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. It's not your fault that people did such fucked up shit to me. But it's your choice to look away, to not speak out. It's your choice, not mine. It's your choice to see your constitutional rights being burned in front of you. But it's your right to look away because it's not happening to you. However, those are your constitutional rights, so they are happening to you. Every time you turn a blind eye to somebody's constitutional rights being violated, you are the reason that those rights are being violated.